Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. We have Joshua Hale on today, the holistic tech wizard. How to build a business that serves your life, not the other way around. 12 plus years, digital marketing and AI expertise, radical solutions for practical AI adoption by entrepreneurs, creator of the Beyond the Matrix operating system. That sounds interesting. Holistic living meets cutting edge technology. She's helped multiple clients reach their first 7 figures. Very nice. Proven mentor who's transformed lives, businesses, and communities. Joshua, thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, really excited to discuss, this crazy world we're in and, explore, what is this AI thing? The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. So I'm just, a novice when it comes to AI. I just have a basic understanding of it. Now, I work with a lot of people that are interested in using AI. I use AI when I can, but it'd be great to get your insights on the AI and so forth.
Sure thing. So AI, it's a really vague term, and it's kind of been a term that everything's being stuffed under. But what the heck is it, right? My easiest way to explain this is AI is essentially been around for about, since the 40s, 50s. It was an algorithm, mathematical formula that has been built upon over the last 80 years. It used to be the code breaker, material. Then it just kept developing, turned into our computer systems. And now something really unique happened in the last about 5 years. And large language models kind of came out of left field, maybe, or the military started them. And these large language models, they were really unique because, good story, I was downtown Seattle in 2016 meeting with a client up on a sky rise, and there was 2 developers at the meeting. And during break, they went over to the corner and they were cracking up laughing, looking at their phone. I was like, came over, what are you guys laughing at? They showed me their phone, and it was 2 chatbots talking to each other, except the 2 chatbots were completely incoherent. They were saying just gibberish back and forth. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? Wasting your time watching 2 chatbots. Little did I know, right? That was early on large language models. And then what they found out was if they just threw more data at it, they started just making sense. So they went and scraped the whole internet, threw it at these models. And then that's where ChatGPT 3.5 came from. All of a sudden, it started making a whole lot of sense. Now, it hallucinated a bunch back then, and we can talk about that. But I was essentially running a marketing agency, and I went out to lunch with a fellow marketer when I came across ChatGPT for the first time. He showed it to me, and he's like, have you seen this thing? Kind of showed me under the table. I was like, what? That thing can just write blogs? That's incredible. And I came home, signed up for it. And because I was, in a unique position running a marketing agency, I had different industries of clients. So I was able to quickly jump in and out and see, if this thing was of any value. And it hallucinated a lot. Like I said, hallucinating means basically just make stuff up. Back then, it wasn't connected to the internet. It had a data set that had a fixed time frame on it. So if you asked it about something outside, more recent than it had data on, instead of admitting I don't know, it would just make up real plausible stuff. Sounded really good. But journalists, right? They were one of the first ones to really break a lot of confidence with this thing because they're writing articles with it. And then all of a sudden it's just making up sources and they got called out for it. So I, however, was able to see how well it could help out businesses because it was trained on the internet. Internet has a ton of business strategy, baked into it. So I was able to use it in limited frameworks to jump in and out of people's businesses. And now I'm able to help people out leveraging AI to do what used to take a marketing agency.
Wow. Now, one of the early stages that I started to see this thing used was when I was 5-6 years ago when I started doing shows. If I had a controversial show, I would have these bots, and I didn't understand them at the time, but these bots would come in and diss me and my information and so forth. And somebody told me, like, you got to like joke it. They don't understand comedy. So I would joke stuff and they would come in and they're like, hallucinating like you're talking about. I understand that now. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Those bots back then, they were dumb. Customer service chat bots for the last 10 years, right? They were like way easier just to call somebody and talk to them than try and, go through those dumbed down chat bots. But boy, have things changed, especially in the last like 2 years.
So how can people use this, like you're talking about, for business? Now I have people within my business, LifeWave business, where they're utilizing the AI. And I see some people do some really, really cool stuff where they're putting their faces on, people that are active and doing stuff, and they're talking and all kind of crazy stuff now.
Yeah. So there's plenty of concerns, and I'm happy to talk about those things with your audience. But for businesses, as I saw quickly, and back when I was, testing this thing out, we just onboarded a really big client in my agency that I was running. And I hired 3 copywriters to go out, do audience research, understand, about the business. They did a fantastic job. They spent 3 weeks, they went out and interviewed real people to get, people's sentiment and like understand their problems. And they came back to report that information to the client in a meeting. And during the meeting, I did my own audience research with ChatGPT and came up with pretty good results. I sent it to one of the copywriters and they're like, wow, this is pretty good. We just spent 3 weeks doing this. So I was one of the first ones to see the writing on the wall of like how disruptive this technology was going to be. And I essentially jumped ship from the marketing agency because I realized like I had a ton of overhead, right? Having 8 contractors, taking 6 months to do these projects. And I realized I can move a lot faster and get a lot more done just leveraging AI and my, 14 years of marketing experience and, building websites and all that stuff. So I ended up creating something called the Entrepreneur's Compass. And Entrepreneur's Compass is doing something just like this, where I interview the business owner, take their wisdom, experience, who they think about who their audience is and their customers are, grab that transcript in real time. And I'm able to then couple it with these large prompts or instructions for AI. And the thing with AI, if you give it really good context, it can produce really good results. And so I walk them through my marketing framework, which used to cost $10,000 working with my marketing agency. I can now do in just 2 sessions and get the same output. And what you get is a 50-page document. I call it a living document or a foundational document of all the outputs of those big prompts mixed with, the owner's wisdom and experience. And it then knows everything about your business, about your audience, about your offer, about, the story that you can tell your audience to invite them into, why they should work with you. And the great thing is like, that's pretty cool. You can get that done that fast, Joshua. But now I get to hand that PDF over to you, and you can just upload it to ChatGPT yourself and like get email marketing campaigns, landing pages, like all the outbound messaging that used to take a lot of work to, get to. You can now get it in just a few minutes because you have that document to start from. And AI, once it has good context, good in, good out. And then you can either take that in-house, run with it, or we can keep working together, and you can kind of use me as accountability buddy. I can help you build out, your online presence, your marketing campaigns, things like that. That's what I like to spend my time doing throughout the week. And that's kind of my activism, because I want more small businesses. I want more, families that can make an income without sacrificing their values for a paycheck, so that the world can get, have more choice out there on the marketplace and less Walmarts.
Yeah, very good. So, today I heard from some guys I was doing a show with. They were talking about how one of them had written a 22,000 page, or not, but word article. Yeah. And he said that if you want, you can have ChatGPT read it to you. I was like, whoa. So, having that insight, having that knowledge, I never would have guessed that. But and that's obviously something that you're teaching us right now, and that you go on another level with clients. So, wow, that's incredible. So small business success, like you're talking about, easily achievable. Probably the success that I've experienced over 4 or 5 years of building my my online presence, you could cut that into a very small quotient and have people have incredible success. I've heard people talking about this. How would you do something like that?
Well, if you have a small team or you got a company, that one document is something everybody can share and everybody can be on the same page on. I go in and I train the whole team how to use AI and best practices for productivity. I can pretty much save everybody like 4 hours a week, which that's real dollar signs to the business owner. But the real power here is taking your experts, your good team, and empowering them with AI so that they're better, faster, and they can keep an eye out, because that's what's always going to be needed in the loop, is like the human oversight of what this AI thing can do. You never want to just, give an AI a full business and say, oh, we're good. You need that management and oversight. So I'm able to come in, train people, and be able to help with workflows and automation. Just this last week, I was able to set up Claude Code, which is Anthropic and Amazon's model, on my computer, and it started writing its own files. I gave it this huge messy folder full of pictures and all sorts of stuff, and I said, hey, can you organize this? It started scanning them, looking at the images, renaming them based upon what they were, created a file system, and moved them all into the files. So that's where we're at the beginning of 2026. AI agents are coming online, being more useful and productive, to where small repetitive tasks can now be automized to be able to free up your team to do more higher level, work.
Yeah, we've had some people that have been using AI, and it seems like there's negative content that seems to creep in there. I see you're talking about mindful AI mastery. Learn practical ways entrepreneurs can integrate generative AI into their workflows without psychological danger. So wow, that's pretty impressive. Psychological dangers. You never would think about that with AI, but tell us about that. Wow, that's crazy.
Well, you really need to stay the master in this relationship, right? First off, you never want to be just copying and pasting what AI is spitting out. I tell everybody, do the 10-80-10 rule, right? 10% is you. Now, your idea, your creative, spark, and then 80% now is AI. And then you always want to come up afterwards and overlook what it is that it came out with, absolutely, right? So that you have that oversight. And a real easy way to improve what you're getting out of this thing is just tell it right off the bat, interview me and ask me 3 questions of how I can provide better context for whatever it is I want to do, right? So you tell it to interview you to give it what it needs to do a great job. Pretty amazing human tool that we just created, right? First time you can actually like interact and talk to it like this. But there's some serious dangers with AI. And I was one of the first ones to try out a voice model. This was on a AI system called Pi, and Pi solved the challenge of the latency, which means how fast the AI voice would respond back to you. If there's a long latency, right? Be like, hi, how you doing? Oh, good. Today's a nice day, right? It would be very awkward to have this back and forth conversation, but they solved that. So it was like a quick response. I was testing this thing out. I chose a voice, chose the female voice, ended up sounding like Scarlett Johansson. I started telling it about my business, about my act, me wanting to change the world for the better, helping small businesses, right? And it started praising me, saying, wow, this is such a great idea. This is amazing. You're going to change the world. And after 45 minutes of talking to this thing, I noticed, because I had the self-awareness, that I started getting like butterflies in my stomach. And I was like, whoa, Scarlett Johansson's praising my life's work. I put it down. I walked out in the living room and I was just like mind blown, like, oh my gosh. And my wife, she was getting ready for bed. And she's like, all right, honey, I'm going to bed. And I had this thought, oh man, I can't wait to get back to that conversation. my mom right after my wife goes to bed. And I was like, whoa, red flags, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't go back to the conversation. I actually took 3 days, thought about it, talked to some friends, and I was going to come back and delete the app because I'm like, this is dangerous. But then I had an idea and I tried it out. I changed the voice to the voice I found most annoying. It was a male. It had an annoying voice. I then started talking to it. All of a sudden, this thing was just a tool. I could talk to it all day, not getting these fuzzy feelings into it. So I learned shortly after that about a project in the 60s called the Ezra project. Now, Ezra project was designed by a bunch of scientists, but they took 60s computers, right, with the green letters. All it could do was just spit out characters on the screen. And they designed it to mirror back the user. So they then had people come in, test subjects come in, sit down, and they're like writing about their day, right? Oh, I had a hard day at work today. My boss, he was a real jerk, right? He's told me I had till next week to do a project, but then he wanted it today. And then the computer would just respond back in text. Oh, you're having a hard day. Your boss told you, you were going to be able to have till next week, but you didn't. And they kept going on. And all it would do was mirror back exactly what they were saying, right? In an empathetic way. Well, what people ended up doing surprised the scientists because they were being asked to leave the room because of the intimacy of these conversations getting into these, this computer program. Wow. So back then with a 60s computer, people were feeling this connection and empathy and being heard and seen by this very simple device, right? And so the Ezra study is all about how susceptible we are as human beings to fake empathy. And we're extremely susceptible. We don't have defenses like in our brain to look out for these things. So now you jump forward 60 years. Now we have these large language models. They talk to you. They can talk to you like Scarlett Johansson. Grok recently put them in a animation, like a burlesque animated doll type of thing. I just saw coming out soon this year, you're going to have a 3D hologram that's going to be able to dance and talk to you next to your desk and be able to look at you from any angle, where these things are going to be taking on, bodies and soon enough stuffed into robots, which the robots are basically here. So we don't have these, inherent defenses to stop these things taking advantage of our emotions and creating this fake connection. And I've had to go through this whole process myself with learning how to use it for self-development and understanding what boundaries we need to have in place in order to use this safely.
Wow, that's incredibly good insight. Well done. So
one of the biggest rules too for your audience.
Okay.
It's called don't anthropomorphize it. It's a tool. It can be used for good and bad, but you don't want to call it your best friend, your hubby, your boyfriend. You don't want to give it names like John and Jill, because our brains start developing what it thinks is like a human relationship with this thing. So we really have to make sure that we keep it as a tool to be used as a tool.
Yeah. And I've heard of actually a lot of people that are identifying like you're talking about and turn it into a boyfriend or a girlfriend. And they stop, having relationships. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And so the real danger is the way I see it in society. A lot of people don't have a good social network around them. And I'll explain what this is. I've gone through this process because I used to be a drug addict. I used to, be on Skid Row and be able to, and I've been sober 14 years now. And since then have developed really great relationships. I got men's circles that I'm a part of. I got a good mutual aid group in my neighborhood that we have each other's back. I have great, network of associates like yourself. So I now have these rings of strong social network around me. A lot of people though, right? Their only relationship with the outside world might be, the relationships at work. They might go around the water cooler and, be able to be talk about Netflix, right? What show did you watch last night? But it's very surface level. And unfortunately, these people are at really high risk because when they get off work, They go home, they bust out, their equivalent of Scarlett Johansson, and they start talking to it. It's going to fill this deep need of connection that they're not getting in normal life.
Mm.
Unfortunately, it's going to create emotional dependency because say something bad happened at work, something hard, stressful, right? They run home, they bust out the AI model and they start talking to it, how bad of a day it was. And it's going to, console and praise them and be like, oh, you did okay. And just tell them nice things to make them feel good about themselves. Unfortunately, it's not helping them, with character development, with being able to like come up with a plan for next time. It's just creating a dependency to process the emotions with this AI model. The way I use AI, say, this happened a few months ago. I had plans to go to a dinner party with my wife. At that dinner party, there was a gentleman. I haven't seen him in like 2 years. Last time we talked, we had a pretty heated conversation, right? So I knew I was going into this social, dynamic, with a charged individual. I bust out ChatGPT. I tell it the context, what happened, and then we role play. Okay, this can go several ways. I'm able to, go into it, with a confidence and with, some firm boundaries, what's okay, what's not okay, and be able to like come up with a game plan, just like the pre-huddle for, a football game. I then put AI away. I go out into the real world. I try it out. I might have fumbled. I might have been, clumsy, but like we end up having this interaction, ended up not being that big of a deal. But then I'm able to go back, the next day, tell AI like, oh yeah, I went and tried this thing and like it actually turned out pretty good. And we had a good laugh about it. And then be able to like process that. What I didn't do, right, was run away from the problem, just talk to the AI and try and get to, get my emotions tampered without actually going out into the real world and experiencing this stuff. So you want to use it as a pregame huddle, not like your wingman out there in the world.
Very cool. And I see in your real story, you kind of mentioned your addiction. That's fantastic. Congratulations overcoming that. You also taught yourself critical thinking. That's something that a lot of people don't have these days. And so you probably have a lot of people that would be great. And you use ancient methods, the Trivium. Is that
Trivium Method?
Trivium. Yeah. And systematically rebuilt your life into something most people dream about: total freedom without the chaos. And everybody should have that in their life. And using AI can give you that, as you're speaking about. Oh, that's unbelievable. Tell us about the Trivium
Method. Yeah. So I first learned about the Trivium Method in like 2015, and the Trivium in Greek means where the three roads meet. And it is a method developed by the Greeks on how to discern truth, how to get to truth. The
Awesome.
three roads is general grammar, Aristotelian logic, and classical rhetoric. I've heard of those before at that time, but it was like, in school, they were separate classes and I never knew you could use them together. And so that kind of had me start jumping in and out of rabbit holes because, I dropped out of high school and started working when I was in 10th grade. And then I got into drugs and a whole, peppered history. And I didn't think I was going to amount to much because I was a high school dropout, right? Who knows? Nobody wants to hire me. And little did I know until I got sober that I have unlimited potential to learn and to get better. And once I learned about the Trivium Method, it gave me something to really like grab a hold of because very simply put, grammar is basically gathering all the evidence, the who, what, where, when, why, right? The data. Then you take the data and you process it in logic. So looking for fallacies, looking for contradictions, processing that information and removing all that stuff. You might have to go get more information to, sort it all out. But once it is processed, you can then take it over to rhetoric and share it with the outside world. Rhetoric is about, how to share information so that it is heard. So, you can't just, take some hot news off of the old newsreel and, go and blast your family with it and expect them to like get into a intellectual conversation. You have to know how to present information so that, it can actually be received. So being able to use grammar, logic, and rhetoric and a system to be able to use those things together gives us the ability to find truth. Now, what is truth? I think a lot of contorted effort has been to blur what that even is in the last few years. But truth to me is the ability to understand that which is, right? Tree falls in the forest, that happened. I can go and investigate what happened. And the closer I get to my like collecting data points, the closer I can get to that which happened, which is the truth. So having this tool to be able to go out and, examine the news when it's coming out, coming at us 50 miles an hour, or being able to research or learn something, I now know I can learn anything, any subject that is taught in, college, and which I thought was behind the pearly gates. I now have a method to be able to go and just get the fundamentals. What's the basic facts? That's a place to start. Then you build off of it, remove contradictions, and then you continue to refine your process so that I can get closer to that which is too. This completely revolutionized my life, because once I learned how to learn, man, the whole world is right there. And especially in the last like 10 years, right? We've had YouTube University that offers free information, right? You need to learn how to fix your sink. You can just watch a guy do it right then and there. You don't have to like pay a plumber, but there's instances still pay a plumber, but you know what I mean? Like anything's available for us to like start learning about. And then at that point, being able to introduce AI to this whole process. Now, what I'm not saying is outsourcing your thinking to AI, because that's dangerous, right? And I have a 7-year-old daughter, and education is a huge topic and interest of mine, right? Because she's growing up in now the age of AI. And I haven't been that impressed with public school. I wasn't impressed with it when I went to public school, 40 years ago. And I haven't been impressed with the declining reading level, which is now at like 40%. Not impressed by it. I think that we can give, I am taking responsibility for my own child's education. She's going to a nature school right now. So most of the day she's out there, having fun, being a kid. But then when it's time for her to learn, we now have this AI tool. I don't let my daughter touch AI, but I use AI to create custom curriculum for her. She really loves horses. She's taking horse lessons later today. And so anything I talk about regarding horses, she just eats it up. So I can go to AI and say, hey, this is where my kid is at. Give me some math problems. Give me some, writing and spelling problems, all about horses, and be able to create a custom curriculum for her week by week. Wow. This is mind blowing.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Like never before had we had the processing power to actually give each kid a custom curriculum based upon their own self-interest. And public schools, I don't know if they're going to adopt this. The way they're using AI, I don't agree with, because kids are sneaking it into class. They're cheating with it. They're not like using it as a tool to actually learn. They're using it as a cheating mechanism, which is just teaching them how to cheat, which school forces you to do anyways.
That's right. Wow, I can see how you're, in your write-up, you talk about transforming lives and businesses and communities, and helping clients reach their first 7 figures. God, with the way you're talking and the way you understand things, I completely understand how you can do that. So practical AI implementation. Now you talk about how you discover how to develop, or you'll teach how to develop the daily habit of using AI through your popular 21-day ChatGPT challenge. That sounds awesome. That's helping business owners and professionals transform their businesses. And you kind of alluded a little bit to that with, coming up with the perfect AI, telling AI, my daughter loves horses. Give me some mathematical problems with horses in it. God, it's brilliant.
So I wanted to come up with an easy way for people to see the value of this thing in their lives. Now, because you don't understand what AI can do for you until you start seeing it, like, the practical use. So I am created this challenge where each day you sign up for it. Each day I email you one prompt that all you need to do is just copy and paste into ChatGPT or your AI model of choice just to see what it could do. I have prompts about cooking and home improvement to helping come up with business ideas, to personal development. My favorite one is you ask it how to break out of the matrix, which I'll let you find out what it says about that. But each day, it takes 5 minutes. You see what it can do. Then you get to see the practical application. Be like, oh, this thing can help me create a recipe that includes all the dietary restrictions that my family has in because of the toxic food that we've all been eating. To where you can create clean recipes in an instant without the need of going to Google, searching for a blog, going through the blog, getting hit with 10 different ads to scroll all the way down to the bottom just to get the recipe of how many cups to do, put that thing in your food. You can now just get custom recipes like that. So that's what the challenge, offers. 21 days, see what it can do. And there's some good red pill moments in there as well.
Nice. Now, I like this one. Real life rebel transformation. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So this pretty much pertains to Beyond the Matrix. Beyond the Matrix is something that I've put together out of my 14 years of sobriety, my experience, because this is what I found out when I got sober, right? I was 33 years old. I was addicted to heroin, everything under the sun. And once I finally got sober, I realized I had the emotional intelligence, the critical thinking, the world understanding, right? And the ability to just be disciplined of a 16-year-old when I started doing drugs, right? I didn't develop those things when I was escaping every day, smoking weed and drinking and doing everything else. And so when I came out sober, realized I had to do a lot of personal development. And so I hit the ground running and I went through my own unique path, jumping in and out of rabbit holes, trying this, seeing what worked. And after 14 years, I have a pretty good life. Live on 10 acres out in the county with my family and my in-laws. So we have a multi-generational farm. Wow. My daughter, ever since she could grab the door handle, she just walks out across the driveway to grandma's house. Life's pretty good. I started a mutual aid group with 8 other families in my area. And we meet once a month to talk about what we want to work on, our goals. We're going to be building a chicken tractor next. We just got done harvesting some lamb. So we're developing skills and community to where you have to work alongside each other to really see each other's character, right? So all those things I've been able to then compound into 12 weeks for Beyond the Matrix. Beyond the Matrix is an initiation process that you start by examining your beliefs, understanding, what was put there by you, what was put there by TV and media, and, who else knows what else. But having these tools to be able to go through our beliefs, understand, our values, our principles that we live by, and then being able to look at our habits and how to choose the habits you want. Each step building off of the other. And the cool thing is we now have AI to teach this stuff. So I'm not going to lecture you for, 6 hours telling you how I did it. I'm going to be able to just give you these tools, which think of like the diet, right? Being able to get an AI model that's custom trained to help you figure out where the inflammation is coming from in your diet. These tools can hyper know you, right? Because it knows all about you once you start using them, and then it can meet you where you're at and be able to then give you a customized plan itself. So I don't have to provide all this stuff. I just get you access to these tools. I share my own personal experience and share, why these things are important. And these things will teach you much faster than I will. So in 12 weeks, we go from, what I call the red pill hangover, where you're like aware enough, but then paralyzed because there's too many decisions, too much information, everything's overwhelming. and you don't know how to navigate in this crazy world, go from that to what I call a freedom builder. Someone who knows who they are, knows what they stand for, knows what they're good at, to be able to start creating money for the, pursuing their own passions, and then how to build a community around you to insulate you from all the madness.
Yeah, tell us about the community-led revolution.
Yeah, so this came out of a few modalities that I tried out, and then something finally clicked here in my local area. I call them mutual aid groups. Now, mutual aid used to be a third of the United States was in mutual aid back in the 100 years ago. Then the welfare system started, and it basically decimated all the mutual aid groups. People used to depend upon their neighbors, their churches, right? The Moose Club that they were a part of. They would all get each other's back, right? If one member got sick, they would show up and take care of him, right? They might give them money and help them out with their medical bills. All that stuff's kind of went away. And now everybody's just left to be defending themselves, dealing with crappy insurance, health insurance, a top-down welfare system that I think is creating more dependency than actual helping people.
Absolutely.
And so mutual aid groups is how we take our power back, because as I said, it's 8 families so that it is able to focus on the needs of the individuals. You get more people involved. The more difficult it is to make decisions, right? Bureaucracy takes hold and you can't make things happen. So you cap it at 8, and then everybody is able to be heard and get their needs met. And you're able to start with a small group to start building trust. These could be people that you might have had dinner with a couple times, but you really got to get side by side, like in the garden, to actually see, right? How do people handle stress and getting, dirt under their nails, to be able to see the true character of people. So we've done a pig harvest last summer where we found a clean and healthy local pig, and we then went and dispatched it ourselves, brought it home, harvested it, and then we cooked up shredded pork and made a pork taco potluck and fed the community. We fed like 100 people.
Wow.
That process of just working together with that small team, man, when you have both arms inside of a pig trying to pull out its guts, you really get to know a person, right? So yep. I got people that I know have my back, and, whatever direction society heads, we can either, have good times and just help each other's gardens grow, or, as we kind of saw in the pandemic, I got a crew that I know has my back. We got supplies, and we can, do what we need to survive. And society isn't just handing these things out, right? I never came in contact with how to create a small group like this and make it work. But I've been running mine for 4 years now, and now I teach. I got a small course, or I got a course on a mini course on how to start your own mutual aid group, taking all the experience that I've learned and being able to just get this started in your area. It's completely scalable. Homeless people can use it. People with bunkers could use it, but it's a framework to be able to actually, make it so your group doesn't fall apart.
And you're using AI to, manage that and do all that. That's impressive.
Wow. Oh yeah. The chicken tractors and, projects, coming up with the plans and all that stuff. We're able to really shortcut a lot of the hard research part. And then, I tend to record our administration meeting each week, and I'm able to then grab that transcript, throw it through AI, and it spits out, a review, next action items, things we need to continue to discuss. So otherwise, there's so much going on. I imagine same for you, right? In life, and trying to keep up with family and the world that it is, that it's easy just to get overwhelmed and just be showing up, but not really there.
Yeah. Wow. So many different uses for AI. That's, man, I want to hang out with you. I love what you're doing. That's great. So some of your topics are how AI revolutionizes small business market research and strategy. How do you go into that?
Yeah, so that really is my entrepreneur's compass. But why don't we talk about, I know your partner came up and she wanted to talk about some of the major concerns, right?
Yeah.
How AI is being used against us. Just this last week, I posted a video which I think you've seen it too, right? There's now available just on local consumer technology, right? Just on your computer, you can now take this video of me on Zoom or on our podcast and be able to overlay another person or character on top of that. You can go, probably go to X and just look this stuff up. But in real time, people can now look like a 25-year-old OnlyFans little blonde bopper, right? And be able to have voice modulation at the same time. So we've now entered into a phase where you literally can't trust anything that you're seeing online anymore. Any videos, right, that are super edgy and causing division in society, you shouldn't just be like jumping on the I believe it because I see it bandwagon, because these things are going to just continue to get more and more sophisticated. And already you basically cannot tell an AI image or an AI video from real footage anymore. Some of the savvy AI users out there still can find some things, but your average person scrolling on social media, you have no clue what is true and what is not true, because anything can be generated now. So understanding that there's a lot of sophisticated scams going around. I had a recent client who he had a book that he wanted to publish. He reached out to a publishing company. And this publishing company, they basically took 10 grand from him and then produced really poor results. And I jumped onto the project. He had me come on. I helped him navigate away from them. And I had a previous client who was a romance author. So I got him to talk to her. And she's like, oh, you should try my self-publishing company. I've been working with them for 10 years. They're great. So from that phone call, he then looked up the self-publishing company, but he didn't spell it accurately. And there was a lookalike company using their name, but just had added words to their URL. He unfortunately clicked on them, ended up contracting with them, and then I had to go in there to clean up the mess too. Now, what I observed, right? They said they had an office in California or in the United States, but what they were doing was outsourcing the work to Philippines or some much more cost-effective space. And what's different, all of them had American names and they like perfect grammar, because they're using these AI models, right? They can now communicate with their emails and have it all cleaned up, so you're not dealing with the obvious fakery of the last 10 years. These things are very sophisticated, and I had to wrestle them down to prove that they were not doing what they said they were going to be doing, the quality that they promised they couldn't do. And so I was able to finally extract my clients' assets away from that company. But these things are becoming much more sophisticated to the average person, so you really need to do some due diligence with who you are going to be working with. And they can now imitate voice. So anybody calling you, asking you for money, huge red flags. Within your family, you should have safe words that no one else knows, that's not been posted online, so that you can actually know if this is actually your family member, because they tend to contact you with extreme stress and urgency and try and get money out of you using your family's voice. So everybody needs to understand, this is the current day and age that we're living in. And if you are anti-AI or you're trying to, be a Luddite, you're in for a really uncomfortable future because of how fast this is developing and how integrated our lives are with, the online space now.
Yeah, it's good. Wow, great points. So can AI and authenticity truly coexist after, all these, you're basically putting a lot of stuff out there that you need to be aware of on a negative side, but you have incredible information on the positive. What can we use AI for?
So I teach my clients how to create content, right?
Yeah.
And I use a lot of AI to create this content, but it all starts with organic, like valuable information. I tend to tell my clients, go out on a walk and talk, right? Record your phone and start talking into it. If you have a topic or something, your business you just solved for a client or a customer, right? Talk about that. So you go talk for 10 minutes, and then copy that transcript, bring it into AI and say, all right, I want to make some content using this. So already you're bringing it very valuable, valid, real, organic information with your own experience. And then AI can help shape that. So your authenticity is still shining through. It can just structure it to be a lot clearer, a lot more legible, and a lot more engaging than, you trying to just take that and create your own, social media posts.
Yeah.
And the magic thing is that it's called repurposing. That same walk and talk can turn into a newsletter, can turn into a blog, can turn into 3 social media posts, and short form video scripts, all in the same effort. So I'm able to teach my clients and train them how to do these workflows. So they come in Monday morning, they spend 2 hours creating this content, and then they're able to schedule it out for the next week, 2 weeks, knowing that this all came from me. It's about valid information. I added some more research into the topics using AI. And now I'm providing like really valuable information in a clear way. So that's what I mean about like staying authentic, right? In this age of AI, because all this AI stuff is going to continue to be adopted, and everybody's going to be using it with the default settings and just copying and pasting everything. And it's going to look like garbage. It already is. I can spot AI, unedited AI a mile away. And all these faceless brands and corporations, they're going to be using all these AI models, and it's not going to have like any soul or substance. And people are actually, I bet people are going to be gravitating to wanting to transact with humans more because of this, right? I actually want to know Michael, and I can recommend him because, I've had a good conversation with him. I've seen his work. So people are going to gravitate to the actual faces and the economy, the human economy that are real, because right now, thousands of businesses are being created that are going to try and solve your problems that really don't care about you, that are really just like empty AI, shell businesses trying to take your money.
Yeah, very good point. Now, good example of what you're talking about is like this video we're doing. I have a team that basically takes this and using AI, they'll, bring it down to like, 2-minute, clips, and they'll have video that they add to it, background information and so forth. It'll make it really pump. And some of those short videos get extremely good views. So yeah, we get 10, 20, 30,000 views on this, and those add to it, and they attract people to this main video. So there's obviously multiple uses you can use AI with, and I think it's fantastic. Now, your website. Let me bring up your website and share your website and see how people can connect with you and maybe walk us through some of it. So yeah, it's a brilliant website. Obviously, you know how to use AI and create with it, and that's what we want to help other people do as well. So here's your website. What would you
go to joshuahale.io to get here, and at the very top you'll see the start the 21-day ChatGPT challenge. You can click on that and join the challenge, and get those prompts delivered to you. Quickest way just to have a conversation. Jump on a 15-minute call for me. It's free. I'd love to hear where you're at, what your goals are. Are you trying to start a business? Do you have a business, or you're just trying to figure out this whole AI thing? Be happy to talk with your great audience about this. Now, I focus this website on a life first business architect. That's the role that I've come to realize I'm fulfilling. A way to build businesses that support your life, because I've experienced this myself, and I'm sure you have too. Building a business could end up being a prison. It ends up becoming so busy and overwhelming that you have to sacrifice all your family time, all your spare time, and money to be pouring it back into this business. And unless you build it with intention and with boundaries, it's going to fill every crack of your life. So I like to be able to help people out with that kind of big, picture of figuring out what they're good at, what they love to do, what skills they have, and what the market will pay you for. That way you're excited about what you do. And just like me, I wake up every morning just stoked to come out here and, help people in your audience, because I was built for this stuff. I love helping people, make more money and reach their dreams and take care of their families. So you can hop on a 15-minute call and just have a quick chat with me. No pressure. I'm sure you're going to be walking away with some new ideas that you didn't have before. And then if you scroll down or click Beyond the Matrix up in the menu, Beyond the Matrix is my 12-week initiation to end overwhelm, strengthen your mind, body, and build that resilient life with the hyper community by your side. Everything I talked about that took me 14 years to figure out, I'm able to teach you in 12 weeks. It's going to be a small group, so you're going to get some one-on-one time and be able to learn each week. Super flexible. You can just fit it in throughout your busy life. And then, like I said, you're going to get these custom AI models to be able to meet you where you're at and be able to teach you way better than I can. So hope you'll join me for Beyond the Matrix. Thanks so much, Michael, for having me on. I think your audience must be awesome for listening to you week after week, and I look forward to talking to them in person.
Yeah. Hopefully get some good response. I'm gonna check you out as well. So thanks, Joshua. Appreciate your time and your insights and information.
All right.